Hi everyone, it's me, Madam Pamita, and it's another episode of Meet My Familiar. Today, we'll be talking with Kortnee Whitehawk about working with animals magically, spiritually. And the reason we're doing Meet My Familiar is because in just a couple days, oh my God, in 3 days, The Witch's Guide to Animal Familiars comes out officially. And if you pre-order now, you're going to be able to get a free ticket to my record, I keep want to say record release party, my book release party that is happening on the 28th, where I will do a reading for you or for your familiar. So you can either get a reading with me to discover who your familiar is if you don't have a familiar, or you can we can do a pet psychic reading, an animal psychic reading to ask your question for on behalf of your familiar and get some answers. So I hope you'll join me. Anyway, all you need to do to get all of that for free is pre-order a copy of The Witch's Guide to Animal Familiars. You can pre-order by going anywhere you normally order books, and or you can come over to animalfamiliars.com, which is the page on my website that has lots of links where you can pre-order, and then enter your information that you pre-ordered, and then we'll send you the invite for the Zoom party on the 28th. And I hope to see you there. Oh my gosh, just come and hang out and have fun and celebrate this new book being born into the world. So let's see if I've got Kortnee here. I can bring her in. Where is she? There she is. Let's bring her. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Kortnee. Kortnee Whitehawk is a fifth generation Abenaki Medicine Woman. She's a visionary teacher and author and creator of Confluence Healing Arts. There she is. Hi.
Hi.
I'm going to finish reading your bio. The first certified nature connection guide in the state of Texas, Kortnee holds master's and bachelor's degrees in education, health, psychology, theater, and music. Oh my gosh, you are a hyphenate beyond. She is full of contagious enthusiasm for life and radiates sheer joy when sharing her spiritual gifts. Her healer's heart brought her to study in-depth practices of nature therapy, shamanism, the Andean cosmovision, energy medicine, Reiki, and Mayan wisdom. She has studied with spiritual masters such as Don Miguel Ruiz and Stephen Farmer, has traveled to 6 continents and 40 countries. Kortnee designs and teaches unique events and workshops that activate the energy of creation and transformation through breath work, movement, music, play, and mindfulness tools and practices. And you can find out more by going to confluencehealingarts.org. Lovely. Oh my gosh, Kortnee, welcome. It's so great to have you
Hello.
here.
Hello. My
My
my Wi-Fi, my screen is doing this little wavy thing. Is it doing that for you?
Yeah, it goes a little pixelated, then it comes back.
It'll
So
come
I think
back.
it just needs to find, yeah,
It'll be
exactly. It'll be
okay.
fine.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, this is such a wonderful and joyful meeting to be able to talk to you about your work with animal magic and I'm also a shamanic practitioner, went through a year of apprenticeship as a shaman and do shamanic healing, and animals are a huge part of shamanic work when we go back to
Huge.
animism, and the connection of animals. So do you want to share a little bit about your connection to animals?
I I do. I do so deeply. I do. I love working with spirit animals, power guides. And I love how you call it your familiar because these are witchy words.
Yeah.
We better be careful. Times are tricky, right, with the words we say. But really what we're deeply saying is that there is a connection between us as humans with the animal world. And we humans have become so disconnected from nature, and it's about that reconnection and really understanding how we can communicate in ways that move beyond conventional knowing into our inner wisdom. It's amazing what happens when we awaken to that connection. So powerful.
Yeah,
So
it's
powerful.
it's interesting because when I talk about familiars, I really am I'm going to say in a nutshell, I say in the book is that during the burning times
Yeah.
in medieval times and in Renaissance times, women in particular, but anybody who is a little bit quirky or a little bit different, um, would be targeted and could be targeted. So you were always, trying to toe the line in terms of Christianity and
Right.
the church and, social rules and all of this. So one of those rules that could have been broken, and it was explicitly stated, was if you are talking to your
Mm.
animals, if you are kind to animals, if you are feeding animals, if you are doing any of these things that were above and beyond your animal, is you have dominion over your animals and you are there to use them.
Right.
Any of that was seen as suspect. So when we go back to the actual idea of the familiar, it is looking at an animist way of the world, of seeing life force in nature and connecting and working with the life force in nature, and then cooperatively working with animals. And that's my
Absolutely.
whole thesis in the,
I
the
love
book.
it. I love it. And you saw me just burst into laughter. You're like, in the burning times. And past life, Kortnee was like, oh girl, we've been burned, we've been burned, we've been burned.
Yeah, absolutely.
These
Absolutely.
gifts that were just so suspect, instead of understanding this compassion, this understanding, this knowing, this kind of, oh, I hear her right now. Indigo, she may come over here. She doesn't like
Oh,
cameras, but come here, baby. Hi, sweets. Come here. Let me see if she'll come on
oh,
screen. Let me see if she'll come. Maybe I'll just move my camera for a second because I don't know how long
oh,
she'll stay.
oh,
There's,
oh,
oh, Indigo.
hello. Hello, gorgeous.
That's Indigo.
Hello.
Hi, sweets. Give me a kiss. Give mom a kiss. No. Oh, I love you
Oh.
too. Oh, I love you too. She my, she my baby.
I love that.
Yeah,
She's
she just showed
such
up.
sweet
She just showed up for
energy.
you.
Oh, thanks for
She,
showing up, Indigo. Thank you.
oh, nah, lay down. Come by mommy. She is my little sidekick. Okay, now she's going to knock over my little phone and be like, no, mommy, you're not allowed to talk to others than me. But what's fascinating is and now, slobber everywhere. That's Indigo. That's my girl. Indigo. Well, yeah, let's just talk about Indigo.
Yeah,
She
absolutely.
came to me. Indigo will turn 9 in a month. Her birthday is March 22nd. And what's interesting is I also work with the Mayan calendar, and I very much believe in our Naval, which is our Mayan calendar birthday. And in the Mayan calendar, she was born on the ceremonial day. She's an 8 Keh, if anybody out there is listening and understands and knows the Mayan calendar, but conversation for a different day, right? She is an 8 Keh, which is, she would have been made a spiritual leader of the time if she was a person, obviously.
Yeah.
So she is known as, Ket is the nature sign, the stag in the woods, the one who is connected to nature. And what's interesting for me is I knew something was quirky about myself and my connection to nature. Like, wild deer are walking up to me. I'm in the forest and a fox comes out and just sits there and looks at me. I have had animals show up for me over and over and over. Turtles and hawks are, like, literally, I can be driving down the road and I'll say something poignant or particularly wise. Imagine that. but, wait, what? But a hawk will fly over. And my husband, who's actually a wildlife biologist, so he knows wild animals and normal wild animal behavior, he'll
Yeah.
say to me, how are you doing that? How do these? One time I go outside and I'm like, what is that sound? What is that sound? And my husband says to me, your hawk is here. There's just a hawk sitting on the front porch going, calling me, and
Oh
I'm
my
like, oh, hi. So I have this uncanny connection to spirit animals, to animal wisdom, and I believe that they do carry messages for us, and I think it's very powerful. I work a lot. I do spirit animal readings, like you, with your clients, and pulling from various different decks. And so many amazing things happen when I'm working with clients and spirit animals that you can't, like, they're indescribable. They're not coincidence. People, sometimes they're like, oh, Kortnee, that's a coincidence, and I'm like, no, it's incredible. Like, it surprises me when I'm working with cards. And I just was teaching a class this morning at a women's summit in Chicago. Each of the women and I wasn't planning to do this, but of course my hands got tingly. They were introducing themselves, and I pulled a card for each of the women in the room, and and I just told them each, Rose, your card is this, da 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 da, all the way around the room. Well, this one woman, her card was rabbit and fertility, and this is what was so fascinating. For some reason, when she was talking, everything she said, I couldn't hear. She was on the other side of the room, and I'm on the screen, like the great and powerful Oz, Here I am. Well, I couldn't hear what she said, but I'm just tapping into her energy, and I pull a card. So I tell her card, and I said, I have no idea what you said, but your card is rabbit. That is representing fertility today. And she said, oh my God, they gave us a card as we came in, and it's the fertility card. She said, how did you do that? I'm like, I didn't. It's just being open and being connected.
Exactly.
It's being, yeah. So anyway, fun things to share about indigo.
Yeah.
That you just
Yeah. Well,
that,
before you go there, I have to say, I always say that working with decks is inviting
yes,
synchronicities. Like like
yes,
people are like, oh, I want a synchronicity to happen to me. Work with a deck, a tarot deck, an oracle deck,
yes,
and really trust that what comes up for you is that synchronicity and what does it mean for you,
absolutely,
and look at that 100%. So tell me a little
absolutely.
bit. Yeah.
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 Well, I have a funny one to tell you. I have a feeling you and I could talk about this for 3 hours, but I don't
Yeah.
think my audience or yours will tolerate us that long. But I have like 7 different decks of different animal decks, and I'm actually writing a power animal deck.
Love
So
that.
I had gifted someone in my Spiritual Wisdom Collective global community, Facebook community. Anybody is welcome to join. Please join on Facebook. You have to answer the questions because there's trolls and
Yeah.
bots. So sorry for that. But I had gifted a power animal session to a woman I never met. And before the session, I'm doing my meditation. I'm just dropping in, connecting to Mother Earth and saying, please let this go well, because I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Well, I have a deck of cat cards that was gifted to me. And this cat deck was like, me. And I was like, no, not you. That's just weird. And I was like, okay, trust your gift. And I pull the cat deck and I pull a card for this lady and I just set it aside. I go into my reading with her and I'm using my other decks because I'm like, not a cat thing. That's just, no. All of a sudden, a cat walks behind her. And I said, hey, do you like cats? She goes, oh, I have 9 of them. And she picks up another one. And I said, hang on, that cat that just walked by. I said, do you trust me? And she says, you're weird AF, but yeah, go ahead, shoot me with it, The card that I pulled from the cat deck was the cat that walked by. I never
Amazing.
used the cat deck, but it was an
Amazing.
exact picture of the cat. And she said,
Amazing.
and then I read her the message and she was like, how did you do that? And I said, I have no earthly idea.
I'm just a channel. I'm just a channel.
Yeah. So the
So
lesson to
sweet.
self is don't doubt,
Yeah.
just trust. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And always, the thing is, as a reader, we're getting into readings. It's like if you come with that real intention of being that channel of information, of kind and compassionate, loving, helpful
Yes.
guidance,
Yes.
you gotta just like get out of your own way and let the information come through. And for
Yes.
people that are new to reading, you'll always have that moment of like, oh, this seems really weird. Should I say it? I mean, I still have that after reading for over 40 years. So I still do that.
Yep.
I'm like, this is really
Yep.
weird, but I'm going to tell you this thing.
Just
Sometimes it'll
trust.
make sense to the person. Sometimes it'll make sense later. So don't just
Totally.
because they don't
Totally.
have the moment of like, what?
Yes.
Don't stop listening to that voice. Don't stop
Exactly.
listening to that. Yeah.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
talk about indigo because you're going to love
Yes.
this.
I'd love to talk about indigo.
So you just got to see Indigo, who is my she was at the vet yesterday and she weighs 112 and a half pounds.
Wow. Big,
Yeah.
big
Yeah,
girl.
she's a big girl. She is a Brazilian Mastiff and she will turn 9 in a month, as I mentioned. But what's most fascinating about Indigo is that this is where, okay, get your tinfoil hats, everyone. Indigo is my reincarnated cat, Juliet. And there's
Ah,
There is absolutely no doubt that that's who she is. And I know this because of what happened with Juliet. So Juliet was my familiar. She was a black cat, solid black cat. Had her for the whole time my daughters were growing up, and that cat was just, I swear to God, the cat was like psychic. She just knew things and could communicate and share in a way that was very uncanny. It was just crazy. Well, when when Juliet died at the end of her natural life, she had not been feeling well. And the night that she died, I laid on the couch with her and I held her in my arms, and she started to cry. And she just, it was a strange sound, almost like a baby crying. And as she cried, she put her, I had her on my chest, and she put her little paws up, and she was going like this on my face, and she was licking my face, and she was saying the word no, no. She was crying because we didn't want to be separated, and I'm bawling. I was just bawling, but the cat was speaking the word no. It was the most crazy thing. And I knew, little by little, I could feel her body becoming cold, the bottom of her body. It was as though the life was leaving her body from the bottom, moving. I don't know how to explain it, but I got a towel because I knew I didn't, when the moment came, I knew I didn't want her dead body in my arms. I was like, oh God. And so she cried and I cried, and it went on all night. And I remember looking up at the clock, and dawn was coming, and I knew she was leaving, and I was like, oh God, I'm just exhausted. And I fell asleep. I finally fell asleep. And Juliet took me on a journey. We went on a journey. She took me where she was going. And I've been to this place after my mother-in-law died. I went back to this place and have journeyed into the beyond. But Juliet took me with her, and we traveled, we journeyed. We went through rainbows and swirls. It was like being on the inside of a tie-dye cloud of, it's not something I can describe, but it was something, it was so magical.
yeah.
It was so unbelievably incredible. And it went on. We just journeyed and traveled, and we flew, and it was just me and my cat
Oh my
together in the cosmos.
gosh, amazing.
And then we came to a place, and I was told, nope, you can't come any further. You got to go. And we parted ways. And off she went into this cloud of, I don't even know. It was just colorful. There was so much color and brightness. And I came back into my body, and I woke up, and I was like, whoa, wow, I just got 3 hours of the best sleep of my life. And I looked at the clock, and 10 minutes had passed.
Amazing.
10 minutes. And I went, oh, dead cat in my arms. And so I wrapped the towel around her, and I set her down on the couch. And funny thing then happened. I went to get my husband. I said, hey, babe, can you wake up? And he said, oh, rough night. We need to take her into the vet, don't we? And I said, no, she's gone. We're not going to the vet. And I said, but before the sun comes up, we need to bury her. I don't know why, but I was like, she has to, strange need for me. I don't understand it. But here's the funny part. My husband comes out and sits down on the couch to put his shoes on as he says, where is she? And I said, well, babe, you're sitting on her. He sat down on the couch on the cat, which was very strange because when her spirit left her body, she became very tiny. The breath, I don't know. It was, anyway. But the reason I share that is because Indigo, reincarnated Juliet, sits on top of my husband all the time. It's one of the ways this giant dog now sits on top of my husband. She's like, yeah, you sat on me when I was dead. Now I'm going to sit on you. So anyway, so
I'll
we
return the
buried Juliet.
favor.
Yeah. So several years later, we get this new puppy, And I was actually taking an animal familiars class and studying animal spirit guides and listening to this thing online. And Indigo was now maybe about a year old. So this is like a few years later. And I'm listening to this course online, and we get to the part about if you could wrap your head around the idea that an old pet can come back into a new body, well, Indigo starts to cry. Indigo starts crying and pawing at me and whining. I'm like, oh, pause. I go to get her a bowl of water. No, whining and crying. I start listening again, and I rewind because I'm like, what did I?
Yeah.
It took me 4 times. I'm like, this dog's trying to tell me something. She's not hungry. She doesn't have to pee. She doesn't have to poo. She doesn't need water. She's not looking for affection. What is going on? She whines. She's whining and crying. And she was whining like this, trying to get my attention. And I was like, what is happening right now? And I got the dog next to me, Indigo, that you just met. And I said, Indigo. And now, when you're talking to your pet, you can't be like, Indigo, mommy's got a treat. Well, of course they're gonna. And I said, Kortnee, if you're gonna get a straight answer right now, you have to be unemotional, matter of fact. So I said to Indigo, are you trying to tell me something? And she puts her big paw up on my shoulder and pushes me. I said, okay. Are you trying to tell me something that's related to what I'm listening to right now about animal spirits? And again, she pushes me and she starts whining. And I said, are you? Well, I started naming our past dogs. Are you Maya? Are you Chloe? Are you? And each name that I say, she this is what she does. She turns away, all stubborn like. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, what am I missing? I've named everybody. And then she turns back and I said, I'm sorry, I'm trying to listen. Who are you? And she turns and she goes, wow. And she made that sound. And I went, oh my God. And I lost it. I started crying. I said, are you Juliet? And Indigo jumps up in my lap, this giant dog, and starts licking my face. And I'm like, oh my God,
Oh my
she's
God.
Juliet. I
Oh
was
my
like, she's
God.
Juliet. And I knew that it was her because of the journey that Juliet had taken me on. So she came back to me.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it's
Oh
really
my
special
gosh.
because Indigo will answer to the name Juliet ever since that happened. So this is so funny. So when my husband comes home, I'm like, I have something to tell you, and you're going to think I'm nuttier than you already think that I am. And he was like, he's used to my level of.
Yeah.
He's like, what's she going to tell me today? So I tell him, and he's like, I'm going to have to sit with that one. But now he's come around to it. And a lot of the behaviors are the same. Her physical behaviors, she purrs like a cat. This dog purrs like a cat.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So
Amazing.
she's pretty incredible. Yep.
Oh my gosh. I talk about this like the openness that is so helpful when one is working with animals, meaning like your heartstrings, whether you consciously invoked Juliet to come back or you just were like, oh, my heart wants her back.
Yes.
She came back, but having the openness of how she's going to come, what form she's going to come in. You didn't really have that intention when
No.
you got Indigo. You
Nope.
didn't, but you were open to bringing Indigo in. Did Indigo come to you in a interesting
Yeah.
way too?
And this is fascinating too. So we knew we wanted to get a Brazilian Mastiff because I had one before and they're really cool
Yeah,
breed. Don't get one if you're not a good disciplinarian, no, because they can be an aggressive dog.
yeah.
Anyway, that's just a little side note. Please don't run off and get a Brazilian Mastiff. Anyway, we knew that was what we wanted. And we found a reputable breeder. Reputable. Why is that word so hard to say? Reputable breeder who's in California. We live in Texas. And I am a New Yorker, for those of you who are hearing the New York in my mouth.
Yeah.
People are like, she doesn't sound like a
Yeah.
Texan. I'm like, yeah, well. I'm like, hey, you guys, Anyway, I'm a New Yorker. But we found this reputable breeder. And he said, okay, you'll have one of the puppies from the upcoming litter. And so we make our deposit. Well, here's where it gets really fascinating. he calls us and says, no, it didn't happen. It didn't take. They didn't do the do.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh. And I said to my husband, no, our puppy's in there. I could feel it. I don't know, well, I don't
Yeah.
say I'm psychic. I don't say I'm a medium, but I'm kooky,
You're intuitive,
I,
right?
yeah,
Listening to
yeah,
intuition. Yeah.
yes. I knew that puppy had come. I just knew it. Well, the breeder calls us back in a few weeks and goes, I was wrong. She's pregnant. The puppies are coming. And then on the night the puppies were born, he sends us a photo of all of the puppies. Here in this photo, you see in the frame. Now there's like, these are a giant dog breed. So there's like 15 puppies. And I looked and I pointed at Indigo and I said, that's our dog right there in the photo. And my husband said, well, let's wait and see their temperament. Let's see how, and I said, that's our dog right there. Well, what was fascinating is I see in the comments, my weirdo cat is watching
Okay.
this. Yeah, I get it.
Oh, I
I
have,
love
oh,
that.
she's over there
Yeah,
now.
yeah.
Mine's hanging around too.
Someone said my
Yeah.
cat is watching this. I love it.
Yeah.
So we waited to see how the temperaments were shaping up, and the breeder sent us pictures, and we picked the one we wanted. And I said to the breeder, I said, hey, Carlos, look back at that original picture. He said, that's the puppy.
Oh
So
my,
I knew she had incarnated. I didn't know, of course, at the time, like you said, I didn't know it was Juliet until Indigo told me,
yeah.
after the fact. But
Amazing.
yes, yep. And
Amazing.
so she came to us, and she's my love.
Oh, she's such a sweet, she has such sweet energy, and I'm so glad we got to see her. She's so gorgeous and
Thank you.
amazing.
We love her.
Um, if you were to give a tip or a trick or a piece of advice for someone who wants to work, I would say, what that relationship is, the familiar relationship is an energy exchange that both you and the animal come together
Yes,
willingly, wanting to work together, just like having an amazing friend or partner in your spiritual practice or your
relationship.
magical practice. Exactly. It's totally, you are not coercing or making or training or doing anything like that. They come on
Yes,
their own free will. But if you were to advise someone in their first steps, maybe they want to invite an animal familiar into their life, or a special spiritual connection to an animal, or they already have an animal that they might think is a familiar,
yes,
is there anything that you would sort of give them a little hot
totally.
tip?
Yeah. And it's a bit of a hard question to answer because people are at different
Of
places and
course, yeah.
areas in their
We
journey.
just
But
pick one.
exactly. So as a trained shamanic practitioner and energy medicine worker, I also have a very interesting and close relationship with serpent, with mountain lion and jaguar, with turtle, with hummingbird, because these are animals, with eagle. These are animals that literally each one I studied extensively and built a partnership and a relationship with. So my sage wisdom would be, as the hawk flies by, right? The thing is, you already named it. It's relationship. You can't. So I would say get a deck. Get a deck that resonates for you. Jamie Sam's medicine deck is wonderful. She's one. Stephen Farmer is wonderful. I've met and
Yeah.
worked with Stephen Farmer, but it's about developing a relationship, which means stay the heck off of Google. Develop your own relationship, right? If you and I want to be friends, I can read about you on Google, or I can just get on the phone with you and get to know you.
Yeah.
So if you look at AI and say, what does owl mean? What does lizard mean? What does frog mean? It's about developing a connection with that animal. So whether it's a pet or a wild animal, open that relationship. And I would suggest be very deliberate about it. So, it's like buying a gym membership and then you go to the gym like next Wednesday and then you go and it peters out. If you want to develop relationship, you have to show up, because that animal is not going to show up. The reason the animals show up for me is because I showed up. I went into the forest day after day after day. So I would say, in a safe place, light a fire in a contained, or a candle if you're not in a safe place to light a fire, and set intention to build partnership with that animal, and pick one. Start with one. Don't be like, oh, I want to be like Kortnee. She's got turtles and hawks and indigo. No, don't do that. Pick one and say, I want to connect with this cat right here, or I want to connect with the frog in the pond out front. I have frogs in my pond out front that come out when I come outside. Pick one and set the intention, and then show up. Learn about that animal, learn about the messages, but not through Google, through intuition, through sitting with it, through meditating, and ask that spirit of the energy of that animal to come to you.
Yeah.
And it might not show up at first. You know, let's say you want to connect with mountain lion. Okay, well, you just picked one of the most elusive animals on the planet. You know, you're not special. That animal's still elusive. It's going to take a minute for it to show up, but trust the animal you picked. I also believe we each have, and a thing I do with clients is, who is your animal chakra? You have a totem animal in each of your chakras. Again, conversation for a different day, but trust the animal. When I said it in this video 3 minutes ago, pick that animal because it's showing up for you. And then just little by little build relationship and connect and call on it. And yeah,
There's so many ways that you can too. I mean,
yes.
I think, let's say, for example, the animal that comes towards for you is an animal that's not native to your area. Like, let's
Excellent
say,
point.
you know, if you had elephant, I'm going to just say elephant. You can watch cams in protected reserves where you can see elephants. You can watch documentaries. Elephant imagery might come up for you,
Yes.
and then you will be surprised at the encounters that come later. So don't
Absolutely.
worry if you are not
Absolutely.
able to access that. I don't advocate like my example is, don't become grizzly man, because we know how that story ends. You don't need to be living with bears to have relationship with bear, right? You can observe them, and with a respect for
Yes.
their nature,
Yes.
and a respect for, they want their space, but you still can connect to them, and you will find amazing things happen when you do that too.
And
you
the
know,
connection will be, once you open that connection, you'll be buying groceries and you'll look at the magazines on display and there's an elephant on the magazine. Or
exactly.
you're walking through the store to pick something up, and oh, there's a children's book right there with an elephant on the cover. Or you're or bear, whichever one you
Yeah.
picked, right? Or you turn on the radio and the guy is talking about elephants and you're like, what?
Yep.
You will find the synchronicities. If you open your energy to it, you'll start noticing elephants everywhere.
Yes. And then probably you'll find some door will open up so that you can go to a reserve where they are. Or another thing that you can do that I think is so powerful is, if you get a wild animal that's a real distant animal, find ways to contribute and help that animal in, like, by making donations or getting involved in a rescue or a reserve,
Yes.
or some kind of safe environment for these animals,
I love
because that
you.
is showing
I love you right now.
your commitment to that animal. Even if you can't physically be there to take care of it, you can take care of the caretakers and take care of that environment for that animal.
And something to share about that, I mentioned earlier in this that my husband is a retired wildlife biologist. He had a 31-year-long career with the United States Fish and Wildlife Service protecting animals. And sometimes, and this is gonna sound opinionated, but sending people in the right direction, the best way to support an animal is to support its habitat.
100%.
So there's a lot of animal rescue type organizations, and that's lovely and beautiful too. Please do what you're called to do. If you really, really want to make a difference for an animal, make sure they have places to live, to breed, to find food. And that means sometimes supporting in ways that seem counterintuitive.
Right.
More on
Yeah.
that. If anyone's interested in that, I'm happy to share about that. And
Environmental
I
things.
love that you
Yes.
said that.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But this is a way of building relationship, so that when you do have that encounter, or you do have that spirit visit you in a dream, or you do have that, when you're developing that relationship, then you can work together. You're showing up.
Yes.
When you show up for a person or an animal or a cause, you are showing up and you are lending your money, your energy, your time, your intention. All of that is powerful. And even if you feel
Very
like
much
it's so
so.
little, it's so little, I'm only donating $5 to the, preserve the savannah, or whatever. It's a little drop, and every little
It
drop
is.
matters.
Every little drop matters. And what you're getting at is the Peruvian Quechua tradition and idea of Aini. It's right relationship, it's reciprocity.
100%.
That
Yes.
you're not just asking that animal to show up for you, it's how can I show up for you, little buddy?
Yeah. Look at here. Here's
Completely.
my familiar.
Oh,
Hello.
hi, sweet.
Hello.
Oh, oh. You
That's
get,
Glinda.
hi, Glinda. You get a little less slobbery than I do when you
I
give
did a lot
kisses.
less slobbery, but sometimes the breath isn't so nice. Sometimes that breath isn't so nice, is it? But
Indigo's got
anyway,
pretty good breath, actually.
yeah, it depends on what she's eating. Right now, it's pretty good, but sometimes if she's eating something little. Anyway, Kortnee, thank you so much. So just a reminder to everyone, you can find Kortnee at, I'm going to find it again,
Yes.
confluencehealingarts.org. I'm going to put that down in the comments below so that everyone
Thank
can find
you.
you. Sign up for her newsletter. I'm on her news email list. Sign up for her email. You'll get some interesting, cool activities,
Yes.
things that she's doing. You'll get alerted to that. I want to
Spirit
remind
animal
you.
quiz, guided meditations.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
good stuff.
cool, so
So, yeah, please
cool.
connect.
And then where's my book disappeared? Oh my gosh, my spirits are being crazy today. I
Where
held
are
that
they?
book up
Your book.
literally.
I'm
Oh, there it
excited
is.
about your upcoming book.
There it is. There it is. Here's
Love
my
it.
book that's coming out in 3 days through Hay House. It's the
Three
Witches. I
days.
know, the Witch's Guide to Animal Familiars. And if you want to come to the book release party on the 28th, it'll be over Zoom. It doesn't cost anything. All you have to do is pre-order a copy of this book. You have just a couple days now. It's coming out in 3 days. So we're in the home stretch. And if you sign up, you'll get that bonus of coming to the party where I'll do a free reading for you, either to discover an animal that wants to work with you, or a reading a pet psychic reading for your familiar, to let give you information of what your familiar wants you to know. And there's going to be more bonuses to come. So if you sign up now, you'll get that bonus plus all the other bonuses that are going to be coming up in the coming weeks. There are some really fun ones, some really cool ones. So I hope that you'll join me there. Thank you so much, Kortnee, for being here with me. It was so wonderful. Like you said, we could talk for 3
Such a
hours
joy.
about this
Such a
topic.
joy. Very excited for your book. Congratulations on that.
Thank
I hear
you.
Indigo walking by again. She's over
Bye,
there. Indigo,
Indigo.
let
It's
me
so
see if
great
she'll
to
come.
see you.
Indigo. No,
She's like,
she's like, no, you're on
listen,
that.
you had enough of
Yeah.
me, on the
She's like,
screen. All right.
I
No
know.
paparazzi.
Here she is. Indy, come. Come on. Come on. Let's see if she'll come. Come say hi before we hang up. Come here, baby.
Yes,
Come on. No,
yes.
no, she's circling back.
She's
All right.
saying
There
no
she is.
paparazzi. There she is.
There she
So
is.
cute.
There's my
Hi,
girl.
big girl. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much, Kortnee.
Thank you
Thank you,
so much.
Indigo, for
What a
being
pleasure to
here.
be with you
Oh my
today.
gosh. And this will be living on Instagram, and we'll also have an archive over on YouTube so that it will live
Fantastic.
forever so people can find it. Thank you again so much for joining me, and have a great rest of your day. Take care,
Much
and hopefully we'll
love.
talk again
We
soon.
shall.
All right.
We
Bye.
shall. Mwah.
Bye.